Welcome to Leadership and Life Chat with your hosts, me, Becky Ames.
And me, Mark Curtis. In each episode, we'll be illustrating how success in leadership is inextricably linked with success in life.
Whether it's leadership in business, society, family or friends, we're all leaders.
Using our experiences and a range of expert guests, we'll share secrets to boosting your health, wealth and self.
So let's get on with the show. So Mark, today, what I'd really like to talk about, is there such a thing as a self-made man/woman? Because I was reading on LinkedIn an article about, when we're young, we really think that our achievements are all of our own making. We have to make everything happen ourselves. But as we advance through our careers, through our lives, we kind of realise how many people have helped us along the way and that we can't do it on our own. So if it's okay with you, I thought if we could just explore this.
Becky, I think it's an absolutely fantastic topic. And I was talking to one of my teammates about it the other day. I've listened to a few podcasts over the last few years which have covered parts of this point before. And I think basically anyone who says that they're self-made they're either deluded, not educated in the topic, or they're just lying to themselves and they're a bit narcissistic possibly. So I don't really have any strong views on this one.
No, clearly. That's that topic done then. Okay, so in terms of sort of the areas I'd like us to chat around, the first point I think we can explore is we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. We can't do what we do without others, and really appreciating how every person, individual, team in that chain really helps us do what we do. The second point I thought was about how, we need to develop our own skill set as a leader to make sure that we're not over-reliant on people around us, but making sure that we understand why we need to do that and to what extent. And then the third point, I think, is really about how we can develop our teams to really support us in terms of what the vision is for the team, what the goal is, and how we get there. Because ultimately, we've already said at the outset, we don't believe this is an I, it is a we. So over to you on that first point.
Yeah. So the first point, no such thing as a self-made person. Absolutely. The example I there was two examples I heard around this one, just to set the context. One was someone said Henry Ford. Everyone always said Henry Ford, the greatest self-made man of all time. And as they pointed out, he didn't invent the internal combustion engine. He didn't invent how you fabricate the metals. So all he did is he took other already known technologies and patched them together in a different way. If other people hadn't already done those things, the Ford Model T wouldn't have existed. So it's not to say what he didn't do at the time was revolutionary and fantastic, and he achieved great things for the Ford Motor Company. But to put it in the context of self-made man, no, sorry, incorrect answer. The other one, which I thought was really interesting, was that they said, okay, who is the most intelligent person of all time? And they said, it doesn't really matter, but let's say it's Albert Einstein. And they said Albert Einstein could not make a sandwich on his own. And obviously at this point, my ears have truly pricked up. And I'm like, what? Albert Einstein couldn't put a cheese and pickle sarnie together? And they said, no, the context is, when you think about a sandwich, it's a hugely, hugely complex thing, because someone, if you go back, roll the clock back 10,000 years, someone had to work out how to create some kind of plow. Someone then had to work out how you till the field. Someone had to work out how you create a grain which will turn into wheat. Someone had to work out how you grind the wheat into a flour. Someone had to work out how you cultivate yeast to add to the flour with some water to create this thing, Yeah, so you can see what's going on. So they basically said, making a sandwich is easy. Yeah. Getting to the point of being able to make a sandwich is really important. And it took thousands of years of evolution and hundreds of people in that chain to develop the technologies. So if you take that as your starting point, almost by definition, you can't have a self-made person, because we are all reliant on our forebears, everything that's happened before us and everything to come in the future. That any new inventions, anything which happens in the future will be off the back of something which has happened to enable it to get to that point in the first place. So that's why I firmly believe there is no such thing as a self-made person. They may, as we say, stitch things together in a different way, but we're hugely, hugely reliant on other people. And I think two things have happened in recent history which point to that as well for us as business leaders, which is the COVID pandemic. It decimated supply chains because people, goods, things couldn't move around the world. So our six continent supply chain suddenly had issues. So if ever we needed a reminder that we are hugely reliant on other people, other countries, other processes, that was a major example for all of us, about what impact it can have. You roll the clock forward 3 years and you look at what's happening with the war in the Ukraine. Massive, again, disruption to supply chains in the world, and it has a knock-on effect into business. And then we have inflation issues, etc. So we are hugely interconnected. We can't get away from that point. So how much do we pay attention to the fact that, however self-made we think we are, we're hugely reliant on our supply chains, all the way through, from our people to our genuine suppliers. And really, we should be asking ourselves then, are our supply chains, are our people, is everything fit for purpose to allow us to be successful? I think that's perhaps the more pertinent question. And are they maintainable? Are they robust? It's something which is really pertinent at the moment, ESG, environmental, social, and governance. So if we take the S, social, a big part of social for most businesses is how we treat our people. And that is all the way up and down, left and right in our businesses, which includes things like supply chains. So, how good a relationship, how fairly do we treat our supply chain? So coming back to one of the things we could all look at as a business is, are we treating our people, our supply chains, are we treating them fairly? Are we ethical in the way we operate with them?
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it? Just, once you start talking around this, it goes out in so many different directions. We are all cogs in a much bigger piece, aren't we? And if one of those fails, then we fail ultimately. And I think, absolutely how we treat people around us is so important, about both recognising who enables us to do what we do, but also how we pay that forward and help others and support others to do what they do. And none of us are exclusive from that. We all have a part to play. And I completely agree. That does mean there is no such thing as a self-made person. How you take all those aspects and turn them perhaps into something and drive that forward, that is up to you. And then, who you bring in around you and your team, etc. But fundamentally, you can't do it without all those bits working. So you've got to invest time and energy in making sure it is resilient. It is going to stand up to challenge. And like you say, the two examples you've given, we've seen instances where it sometimes will fail, and we're going to have to find other ways. And I think we've learned from that we really do need to invest in those aspects to make sure that we have alternatives, we can pivot, we can be agile in terms of how can we make sure that the interruption doesn't prevent us from doing what we need to do. But huge challenges there. But even within our teams, it's really about how we make sure we recognise the input that every individual has.
Absolutely. And if you think about your own journey, think of, if you actually just stop and think about it, who are the people who've had disproportionate impacts that has allowed you to be successful? And I think if you actually really just stop and reflect on this as an exercise, if we all did this, it would be so obvious that we're not self-made, and there would be hundreds of touch points through the years. And, I can go back to probably, I don't know, being a 12-year-old at Stalham High School, and Mr. Farman, who was the history teacher, he had a massive impact on my thought process at that point, because I was getting like B's on my coursework, and I couldn't work out how to get an A. And every week we'd have to watch a video. It probably was a VHS video back in the day of some history, some period of history. TV wheeled in, yeah. If it fell over, it could crush 20 kids under it, huge, great thing. Cables everywhere. Yeah. Health and safety nightmare. And we would watch something on some program about history, and he would give us a format to fill in our exercise books, which we had to watch this, and that was our homework. We had to fill it in, and I filled it in diligently. I listened, I took notes. It was all kind of good. But I kept getting B's. And I said to him after a class once, I said, Mr. Farman, why am I not getting A's? I'm doing everything I can do. And he said to me, are you doing everything you can do, Mark? And I'm like, yeah, I'm watching the video. I'm kind of engaged. I'm taking notes. I'm filling it in. Look, I'm even in my bestest handwriting, Mr. Farman. I'm doing this like to the best of my ability. And he said, what else could you do? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. He said, well, we've got a library in the school, haven't we? We have. He said, what about if you went to the library and you read a book on Viking burials? Do you think you might find out more than what was in the video? And I'm like, yeah, I get you. So he's like, okay, there you go then. That's how you get an A. So straight away, it was like, don't just take everything at face value, Mark. Maybe there's a little bit more digging to be done to get to the ultimate answer, to could you perform better? So there you go. Taking me back to a 12-year-old Mark, massive impact in how I thought about things thereafter, which is, there's more to this than meets the eye. Just sometimes the obvious is the obvious and it's the right answer. But most things are more complex than that. Is there something else I need to do to get to a better answer? So, and I could give examples all like, the timeline of Curtis's life all the way through from the age of 12 to 38, 48, and so on. But that's just one example. And I think if we all reflect back, it makes us realize that we are not, so one of my early successes was learning that. That was huge. And I've carried that ever since. And it still sticks out in my memory. You must have stuff in your life, Becky, where it's like other people have such a massive impact on how you've ended up thinking, feeling, doing things, and we're all the same. That's why I would never be as arrogant to say I'm self-made.
No, absolutely. I mean, the thought of 12-year-old Mark is a bit scary, I have to say, because it sounds like you were pretty intense. But yeah, I completely agree with the concept of what you're saying in terms of there are people that have influenced you and, really helped you to get to where you are now. And we are all products of that, aren't we? So absolutely, we're not self-made. How we've taken those on board and turned them into what we've done with them is up to us, absolutely. And, anyone who has a mentor or a coach, different things, but either, what you do with that is up to you, but hugely beneficial. And for me, in recent years, having a coach is what's really, helped me to refine my thinking and be far more focused on goals, etc. So yeah, absolutely. I am a product of all of those influences and all of those key people. But as a leader, do we need to develop our own skill sets to make sure that we're not over-reliant, or that we really are able to keep moving forwards without, like I say, being over-reliant on other people around us? And I think it's important for us all to keep developing our skill sets, obviously. But there's always things that only other people can do. It's not in us to do. For example, whatever it might be, probably in our supply chain or in our teams, we all have our skills, our specialisms, things like that. But it's recognizing how it all fits together, isn't it? And how we need to make sure that we are rounded enough to be able to drive that and make things happen, but that equally we need the team, and how that all fits together. And it can be too much I and not enough we. I think we've all seen that throughout our careers, but getting that balance right is quite challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, and if we went back to Henry Ford again, did Henry Ford learn how to build an engine? Did he learn how to
No.
X, Y, Z? I don't know, but I suspect the answer to that is no, he didn't. So he looked at it and said, what do I need to I need to understand how I can create a factory which can do mass production, which wasn't even a thing at the time, was it? Mass production didn't exist. Everything was bespoke, artisan, which we've kind of gone full circle in some ways. So his skill set wasn't about how to build a car. It was how to create a production line where he got highly skilled individuals to do one part of the process. So if we think about as you say, if we think about our role as leaders, do we want to be an expert? So do we want to be a computer programmer, or do we want to have a computer programming business? That's the question probably we need to pose to ourselves as leaders. What is it we see our role as? If we want to be a computer programmer, then it means either we're going to be self-employed, a one-person business, or we're going to be employed by somebody else as an expert. If we want to have a computer programming business, we need to have different skill sets, because we can employ the expertise, but we can't employ someone to run our business, because if we're going to employ someone to run our business, then it's not really our business, if you like, unless we become the ultimate owners and we're the shareholders. But for most small business owners, they're running a business, so therefore they need to get away from being just an expert. And as you said, it's then looking at it going, well, what skill sets do I need? And you think so. We're case in points here, Becky. We both trained as accountants. We both qualified as accountants. We both produced accounts. That was the expertise part of it. Then we became managers, and then we became partners. So we morphed from being experts to business owners and business leaders. Now, just because I've got some letters after my name to show I passed a few exams, in no way qualifies me to be a business leader. So therefore, I had to go on another journey, as did you, to go, okay, how do I become a business leader? How do I become an effective business leader? How do I become a better business leader? So then we started investing in courses around leadership or business advisory, and we learned how to run a business. So we had to change our skill set. So, I know the old phrase of, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. I think that's quite derogatory, because as a business leader and as a business owner, I think I have a responsibility to be a jack of all trades. Yeah. I think I need to have a wide knowledge of a shallow knowledge, if you like, of a wide range of topics, rather than a deep dive into expertise. That's what I did when I was an employee. So I think one of the things I would challenge leaders listening to the show on is, are you an expert and effectively an employee in your business, or are you a business leader? Have you got a wide range of skills in how to handle people, how to manage people? Yes, we can have HR departments for that, but as a direct leader, I'm still talking to my team. I still need to be able to read them. I need to understand what's going on in their head as much as you can ever understand what's going on in someone's head. I need to be able to support them. I need to know how to pick the right words at the right time. I need to know when to challenge them. I need to know when to praise them. These are not skills that you learn when you become an expert as an accountant. No. So it's really, what skills do you need as your journey continues as a leader? I don't think we can hide behind expertise. I've seen it with other businesses over the years. People hide behind their expertise because it's their safe patch. It's where they feel safe. Yeah. They're comfortable. It's not as scary there. It becomes their default position. When the pressure heats up on stuff, they default back to their expertise. Whereas I think great leaders just continue to expand as a leader rather than going back to a default position.
Yeah. And there does come a point, doesn't there, where you're kind of at that fork in the road, and you have to decide if that's what you want to do. If you want to remain expert, be a specialist in an area, then perhaps it isn't for you to run it as a business, or at least a business that is going to grow and employ people and have a number of people, because that is going to require you to grow your skill set in a different direction and, have, like you say, some understanding over a much wider area. I think it's appreciating you can't outsource everything, can you? As a leader in a business, you've got to take responsibility. The buck stops with you, and you've got to be able to have those conversations and have enough understanding and awareness to be able to be seen as being authentic and taking responsibility and leading from the front. And it's a whole other skill set. We see it, some people think they want it and then don't like it. And would much rather stay where they were as an expert and really, utilise that skill set. And that's absolutely fine. But again, like everything, it's about really questioning whether that's the path you want to go down or not. And understanding that is going to have to be. You do need to be more than just an expert in your area.
And again, we've dispelled the myth of the self-made person, haven't we? Which is, you surround yourselves with experts, but you become an expert in running a business, which is not a single strand of expertise. So again, you cannot be self-made if you need all those people around you. No. So we've firmly just, it feels like we're on that. What was that program called? Mythbusters. Myth 2, dispelled.
Okay, so then moving on to the third point that we were going to discuss. It's about how, given everything we've already said, we've got a duty, haven't we, to really develop our teams, and not just ourselves, but our teams, to help us to deliver. And there is no I in team. All of those things stand. So we've really got to give people a leg up, give them opportunity, empower them, and take them on that journey with us, haven't we?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting point, and I'm going to get a quote in from Aubrey Marcus. You know, I'm an avid listener to a show. It's a bit out there at times, but there you go. It expands my mind and my consciousness. Anyway, he talks very much about it's a we project, not a me project, and I love that. I thought that's a really neat little way of putting it. You know, and you're right, Becky. We as leaders, we have a duty to develop people. I think almost linking it into that second point, though, we have a duty to develop people in a way that they want to be developed as well. Because if we tried to develop everybody to become rounded leaders, we wouldn't have anyone to do the day job, you know, and exactly, you know, and you look at our teams, and some people don't want to become rounded leaders. They want to be expert accountants. They want to be expert tax advisors, you know, producer Lizzie, they want to be expert podcast producers. Yeah, ongoing project. Sorry, Lizzie. Only joking. You're amazing, Lizzie. If you want to come in, you can say
She'll
something.
Be phoning
and
HR again.
Report me to HR or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, HR.
But you know, it's like. But it's very much around, you know, part of that skill set of a leader is looking at, well, what do these people want to achieve? It's talking to them, finding out, you know, and it's no good trying to put a round peg into a square hole. You know, if you've got people who want to be experts, let them be experts. The people who want to develop into business leaders, business owners, they want to do something different with their life rather than just the skill that they've trained in to be an expert. Then they're the people who we need to put the energy in to help them become rounded. Otherwise, you can end up creating a nightmare within your business, you know. And I've seen it from both sides, really. You know, I've been an accountant and come through the journey, and I've been the leader looking at the team. And at times, I've been guilty of trying to overdevelop people. You know, trying to create this vision of how wonderful it is, and they don't want to do it. But maybe I've not listened to that enough, and I've been a little bit too, but come on, this is wonderful. It's wonderful for me, might not be wonderful for them. So I have to be more balanced with that. And if I'm not careful, and at times you can end up creating an environment where you've got too many people who want to develop and grow and become leaders. And then, like you say, there's no one left to do the work at that point in time, you know. So that's a skill in its own right. It's another skill we have to develop as leaders, which is, yes, we have a duty to develop people, but it's developing them in a way which they want to be developed and what is going to work for the team as well. And
it's also about recognising that, I think, because often we hear that people are like, yes, I want to be developed. And actually they're saying it because that's what they think they should be saying. And actually, they'd be much happier if they were allowed to just continue growing in their expert role, doing whatever it is that they might be doing. But they think that to get on, they've got to become this leader or whatever it might be. And I think it's about us being honest with them as well about not everyone has those skills. We all bring different things to the table, and we need all of the bits to make it work. And absolutely, that's as valuable. And grow your expertise and keep becoming, you know, as good as you can possibly be at that. Other people will be on a different journey. We cannot all look the same because, as you said, that's going to lead to massive issues in a business. We can't all be the chefs in the kitchen, the head chef in the kitchen, because that's just going to lead to absolute carnage. So we do need all of those bits to be working together, and it's making sure we're developing people, both understanding what their aspirations are, but balancing that with what is their absolute, you know, core skill set that they bring to the table, that is the aspect that got them there in the first place as much as anything. I think sometimes we lose sight of that and we try and turn people into something else, or they think they need to turn into something else. So again, as you said, as leaders, it's our role to have those open and honest conversations about aspirations, motivations, and how the team fits together as much as anything.
And we need to do it for ourselves as well. You know, I mean, just because you are a business leader doesn't mean that's then, you know, the definition of you, is it? You know, take us, for example, you know, we want to do podcasts. So that's not about being a business leader. It's about giving something back to the business community based on maybe some of the things we've learned through our journey. But to be able to do that, to create the time to be able to do the podcasts, we've had to have people in our team step up who've had the ambition to want to become business leaders themselves. It gives us the time to be able to come and do podcasts. You know, there's one example. take Richard Branson, globally recognized entrepreneur. He was very clear on what he wanted to achieve, and that allowed him to partner with other people to have a wide spectrum of businesses under the Virgin brand. He could only do that by being very clear on what his expansion journey was as an individual. We're based in the UK. There's a company in the UK, a listed company called Adnams, which is a brewer. They brew beer and such like. And their CEO, Andy Wood, he developed into a great CEO of the business, but he's gone out and done other things, hasn't he? He ran. I think he lectures at a university now as part. He's still involved in the business. He developed other people through to allow him to then continue to grow on his journey as well. So it's not just about the team, it's about us as the leaders as well. Is this the end game for us? Is this like where we want to be? Or is this only part of our journey? Are we going to continue to move in our journey? And some people will, some people won't. Again, no right or wrong, but it's just understanding where you are and where you're going with yourself as well.
And that can change throughout your life, can't it? Depending on your circumstances, your commitments and your motivations at the time. And, just because someone doesn't have a plan at age 18 of achieving X doesn't mean that they can't pivot and move towards that later as well. So it's those constantly checking in with people on where are we? Are you still where you want to be? Are you still, aiming for what you want to aim for, or have things changed? And we all have very long careers now, probably. So there's lots of opportunity for us to move around a lot. But keep coming back to all of those aspects together is what makes us succeed. It cannot be one person just doing it on their own. That's just not realistic, is it?
No, not at all.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mark. That was really interesting to talk around. So the three key points that I've sort of taken from that, we talked about how we are all standing on the shoulders of giants. There is no such thing as a self-made person, in our opinion, and I think we've blown that myth completely anyway. We then talked around how we need to develop our own skill set as leaders. It's fine to be an expert, absolutely. We need those in our teams. But as leaders, we do need to have that wider skill set, but appreciate that all the cogs fit together. And, we would really challenge our listeners to think about whether they want to be an expert or whether they want to be someone with a wider skill set that is, leading their business forward and making sure they've got those experts in the business to take that forwards for them. And then we chatted about how we really need to support our teams to make sure that is happening, that we're enabling them, we are empowering them to come on that journey with us, to make sure that everyone is achieving what they want to at the time that they really want to in their lives, in their careers, but making sure that, we understand those aspirations and motivations so that all of the pieces really work together. Thanks for listening to today's shows. Hopefully you've got some takeaways that you can put into practice and really think about in your day-to-day lives. Anything we've mentioned today will be included in the show notes, so you can find out more there. And we'd be really grateful if you could follow us on your chosen platform and rate us so that other people can find us and help us grow the show even more. Thank you to our sponsors, Larking Gowen. You can check out their website to find out how their team of chartered accountants and business advisors can help you and really grow your business. And that just leaves me to say thank you to Mark and to wish you all a fantastic week. Enjoy yourselves and make sure you continue to boost your health, wealth and self.